So Pathogen X caught my Eye of Sauron gaze purely on its unique page. The first image you see on the page is the game as like a PS1 kind of title. Like it has the same kind of like art style, or like not art style, but like kind of that same box aspect ratio with like the side being like Haunt Station, which obviously is a play on PlayStation. The illustration on the cover looks really, really good. I originally also thought it was some sort of like Hunk from Resident Evil fan game, which I mean, like, it kind of is in a way. The demo does feel like that one Hunk mission from Resident Evil 2, like the remake. I mean, to be fair, the only real similarity is that you're just running around killing bad guys trying to get to an exit, so like... Tangent aside, the demo for Pathogen X only lets you access the arcade mode, which, to be fair, does feel like the story mode because of the really cool cutscene. It mentions on the website that you are to complete missions, and each successful time you do a mission, you get a stat increase and a rank up, eventually reaching the Holy God Cream in Your Pants rank of X. From the footage you're seeing, this would be one of the missions that you would need to complete, where you'd go into the facility, get the vaccine, and dip. Okay, wait, well, maybe not in my case, but let's just move on to the lore. Once you start a game of arcade, you get a cool briefing where it just says, get the vaccine and hightail it out of there. After which you get a cutscene that shows the player descending on an elevator and into the facility that is named Delta Labs. The room that's like directly with the elevator is just littered with bodies of the Delta Core security. The player finds a pistol, some ammo, and a medkit, and a weird-ass bunny thing that the protagonist mentions how it feels sort of familiar to him in a way, which, I didn't even know bro was like Doom Guy or something. He moves through the facility collecting more weapons to fend off the infected that are there to just kind of like, I guess slow him down because they don't really pose any significant threat. But the main goal is to get the vaccine and dip, so as he continues, he comes across rooms with a bunch of infected. Some have more bodies, most just have a bunch of infected, I'm guessing workers because they're all in lab coats, just kind of strewn about and ready to like just game over you at any point. But more importantly, you get different weapons, and just depending on how you kind of go at it, you'll find certain things like assault rifles and like shotguns. And of course more ammo and more medkits to just kind of like fuel you just in case you take a bit of damage. You do get to a very concerning room. At one point it's like a really large kind of open-ish area with like quite a few infected, but also has like a bunch of these vats that creatures are inside. And very concerningly, one of them is broken, and I originally thought that something was just gonna like either jump out at me from like somewhere hidden. Luckily, no, but some things do actually spawn in, but like it's usually when you get the vaccine. The room also just kind of confirms that Delta Labs were just kind of making the pathogen, or they were at least experimenting with it, and then either one of the creatures got out and started infecting people, or the pathogen just got out of control and one of the vats just so happened to break. While going through every single room though, you do come across the creepy bunny plushie, which it's literally in every single room. You'd think it's not in, but it's just there, just kind of staring at you. But if you shoot at it, a kind of audio clip will just start playing. It's just kind of like a squishy, like kind of dull sound. But then you get like a 5+500 mark, which I'm guessing it's some sort of score when the level is complete, but like, I wouldn't know. Eventually, after the protagonist gets the key card, which is in a different room, to get into the vaccine room, the protagonist comes across a very peculiar and grisly sight where when you enter the vaccine room, you'll see the Delta Core security captain laying there in a puddle of his own blood, holding onto a note which details how everything is going out of control and that they're running out of men with no real way to leave. It mentions that he's not going to go out without a fight, and that there's special weapons that he's just kind of left out in unknown areas, and he hoped the pink bastards don't get to them. Who are the pink bastards? I'll get onto that, just shut up. The protagonist proceeds to pick up the vaccine and heads back, finding that the rooms that he originally went in and cleared are now infested with the creatures that he previously thought he killed. Well, I'm assuming they kind of reanimated. They might just have kind of spawned back in. And now we figure out what those big pink bastards are. There are really big hulking beasts that now roam around each room, and they are specifically put right in front of the exit door, so you either have to kite them or just pray to God they don't hit you. I do know, by the way, I know you're watching the footage and you're like, why don't you roll, Cosme? Well, I kind of forgot that there was a roll button because it's the space bar. I don't know how I managed to forget that, but yeah, no, I just kept taking damage for no reason whatsoever. Interestingly as well, I think they got to the secret weapons because once you kill them, they drop special weapons. The one that I got, the one that I managed to defeat and it managed to drop was a 4-shot rocket launcher, which it did really well, but I think I wasted it by just shooting at the little guys instead of just like saving it up for the bigger guys. But then the protagonist manages to get past everyone, and in my case, apart from the last possible one. Let's just not talk about that. And that's basically how the game ends. Well, I assume so anyway. I like to think headcanon-wise, that's how the demo ends, with the guy dying. Totally very much intended, and I think it was scripted, so yeah. Overall, though, I think the game is a really, really interesting kind of like premise. I mean, it does remind me of like Black Mesa or like the first Half-Life game where it's just kind of like go into facility, oh no, everything's going bad, and, you know, try and fix everything with guns and, and try and punch your way out of it. But, no, I think like there's some subtle things as well in the like actual Delta labs that do hint to like certain things. For instance, like the VAT rooms and like the fact that like, you know, they seem to be experimenting with everything. Hell, there was one kind of like little like area where there was like a computer, and right next to it was like a little miniature like vat. So like it was very clear that they were being studied, but just how the infection started and whether or not it spread to the rest of the world, we don't actually know. There are some things like on the cover art that may hint toward the entire world being infected, because it does say here, just as the research at Delta Corp Labs was about to uncover a cure to the world's deadliest virus, communications fell silent. Sensing the worst, you've been sent to investigate the facility and retrieve any trace of vaccine. Little do you know, you're about to step into the worst nightmare, or sorry, your worst nightmare. Which either means that currently there is a kind of viral sickness that's going around that isn't as deadly or horrific, but the fact that the Delta Labs are just kind of like experimenting and probably like genetically changing everything probably means that in their search for a cure to this sickness or virus, they managed to mutate it and have like, you know, everyone infected, and it was not a good time. The fact as well that like the kind of infected / zombies of the game, some of them seem to be somewhat conscious in that like they're holding weapons. So like the red guys seem to be holding like a crowbar or some sort of like lead pipe and they really, really want to like hurt you. They also have this weird like kind of stringy thing on their back, but I have no idea if that's some sort of like game aspect. It does seem like it is because in the cover art, it does show like the kind of like stringy tentacles kind of like protruding out of the zombie, whereas like in the game, it's just kind of like a separate element. What I meant by like game aspect was just kind of like, was it just a way of saying these are enemies, whereas like later on there'll be NPCs saying these are NPCs. But yeah, no, but like some have that and carry crowbars, while some are green and have like really like long spiked arms, which either means levels of infection have grown further on those green guys, or because they're exposed in different areas of the lab, that's what they become. Who knows? Overall, though, I think this game is a very like worthwhile checkout. Definitely try and try your best to get to the end and not be an idiot like me and just kind of stand there and take it while just shooting at the big pink guy. But yeah, no, check it out. It's completely free. The demo seems very interesting. It has like PlayStation 1 graphics with like the kind of cover art being basically the same. So, you know, worth checking out. Anyway, see ya.